Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thankful Thursday. Let me just get this going. Just got it going on Instagram. Let me go and get it going into my Facebook group. Share to my group. I used to be able to stream into my group, but now they made it so I basically can't do that. So I have to share. Okay. Let me go back to what this is, and also let me start up. Um, my calendar so I can see that too. Okay, you guys, welcome to Thankful Thursday. I'm BERNINA expert Amanda Murphy, which basically means I'm a spokesperson for the machines that you see behind me, a spokesperson for the Q series, or and BERNINA calls this an expert. So that's what I do normally. And if you don't know me, I also design fabric for Benartex and rulers and notions for Brewer and digital files for OESD and all of that stuff. And I have a new book for CNT Publishing if you haven't seen it, but I didn't bring it up here today. Oh my goodness, you can see my mess behind me today. You can really see it. I see you say, "Hi, Bernadette." You always tune in. There's some of your names that I really recognize in the chat. So you guys, if you are commenting live, I try to answer your questions. If you have questions about the various thing I'm presenting. If you are watching a recording, I don't go back and watch these because honestly, if I went back and watched these in my workout clothes, like I would never get the courage to do this again. Okay, so hi Heidi. So take this for what it's worth. I don't usually monitor the questions after the fact. However, if you do have a burning question, like you just can't get it answered, you can come into my Facebook group and ask it, or you could send me an email because if you've done a download for my website, like for a free pattern or something. Hello, Joanne. Joanne's tuning in today before she goes and visits her daughter. If you ask it there, I'll answer it, but I'm not just ignoring, well, I am just ignoring. I ignore these videos after they happen, okay? So if you have a burning question, come into my Facebook group. When you first join the Facebook group, I approve memberships like every week or so. It asks you for your name and what your favorite quilting technique is, etc. That's so I can tell you're not a robot. So please answer the question so I know you're not a robot. So, yeah, you like the real mess hasn't started to happen. This will be one of the last broadcasts I do up there. You can see all the cityscape fabric before BU. I have new edge to edge things going on the frame, but when I get back from all my trips, all the fabric will be up here, so I won't show anything. Yeah, there's always lots of fabric. So normally I show quilting. But last week, you guys might have noticed I had special guests, Connie and Pam, experts on the 990 and the sergers. And so I have been inundated with emails requesting me to show you guys how to copy BQM files on the 990. And then I've also been seeing that a lot of people in the 990 groups are having questions about how to bring the stitches, the jumbo stitches into embroidery. So I thought I'd answer those. Okay. We will go back to quilting next time. So don't worry, this isn't going to become a 990 only broadcast. I usually show quilting because you can kind of relate to the quilting no matter what machine you're on. And you guys know I usually show on my sit down Q series downstairs. That's partially because up here, that's where all the magic happens. That's where the stuff is that you can't see yet. So I made sure things were covered today, which wasn't hard because I have a lot of things to cover them with. Okay, if you are influenced by this broadcast or by watching me to buy a Bernina, you know you can ask for a rebate, but what's the key? You have to ask me before you put any money down. You have to ask me for that rebate card. Okay, and speaking of which, I think I had someone yesterday who asked, and I have to write them back. But anyway, you have to ask me before you buy. Same thing for Laura Stars over $7.99. I have $50 rebates, but you got to ask me before you buy. Okay? So that's all that stuff. You guys know I have the new book, the Free Motion Quilting Workbook. I'm trying to think of what else I need to say. I should have brought, actually, I know what I can do. I know what I can do to show that. Joanne, remind me to show the circles and rings fabric at the very end once I show this stuff on the machine. Okay. Before I do that, upcoming events. Okay. Next week, there's no Thankful Thursday. It's the fourth Thursday of the month anyway. But the 4th and 5th, I will be at Montefiore this next week, which is in Portland. I don't know if they still have spots, but you could call if you want to because and ask. It's the last time that and Quality the week after, which is in Seattle, are the last times I will be in the Pacific Northwest this year. So you could call and see if there's spots. I think Quality sold out. I don't know if Montefiore, they were close, but I don't know. They might be able to squeeze you in. So I will be there the next 2 weeks. After that, the next week, I'm going to be at H&H Americas, which is actually an industry show, so the attendees are quilt shops. So if you're a quilt shop, come see me. I'll be, if you look for Brewer and Bernina, that area, I'll be right next to Brewer, kind of on the other side, which is like a few feet from Bernina, okay? So come see me if you're a shop. There is a chance, if I can get the internet settled, I might do a broadcast from there, and I might show you guys the hoop frame. I have to see if I can finagle the internet and if it's going to be good enough. But that's in 3 weeks. So I have Montevilla next week. I come home on a red eye. I have Quality the next week. I come home on the red eye, and the next day I'm out to H&H. So that's 3 weeks. I don't want to say there's no Thankful Thursdays because I might do a pop-up in there at some point, particularly at H&H, but I won't be back here to do the normal quilting Thankful Thursdays until the following week, which is the second week in May. So that's when we'll be back to showing like ruler work, quilting, all that, okay? So now, further into the summer, this is why I started up my, let's see if I can get this to do master. That's my file. Okay, so I don't say anything wrong. Okay, these are all grayed out. Okay, so Montevilla Quality. Then I have July 24th to 26th is Hudson Sewing Studio in Hudson, Illinois. That is between Chicago and St. Louis. That's what they told me because oh wait, it's Hudson, Indiana, isn't it? I believe it's it's Illinois because it's between Chicago and St. Louis. But Hudson Sewing Studio. You know what, Joanne? I'm going to, I can't see both screens at once. Can you Google that for me and just check if it's Indiana and Illinois? I don't know why I have such a mental block about Indiana and Illinois. They're next to each other and they're in the middle of the country, and my middle of the country geography is not that great. I just fly into airports and fly out. So Joanne, if you could check on that. August 5th through 7th, that's Pine Needles. That's in Minnesota, and that's actually the last time I will be up that way this year. Let's see. Then we have World of Sewing in Raleigh, North Carolina, August 22nd to 24th. That should be a fun one. And then I don't think the next events have been announced. There's fall events, but I don't think they've been announced, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, let me go back to the interface and see if Joanne's looked. I know, I make myself tired too. Don't worry if this video is blurry, it's because it's my computer camera and it doesn't know where to focus because there's so many things behind me and so many things in front, but I'm actually going to be using this camera to teach, so don't worry about that right now, okay? Let's see. I see where I'm going back and looking at the comments. Illinois is in it's in the Chicago area. Can someone, I want to Google Hudson Sewing Studio because I'm having this mental block. Hold on 1 minute. And I don't want to say it wrong. The problem is I see those lovely ladies at shows. So I really don't know where anything is until I go there. So on the front page, oh, there's my picture on the front page of their website. It is in Illinois. It is in Illinois. Okay. So Hudson Sewing Studios in Illinois, but further out from Chicago. So that's where I will be doing the event in July. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. Illinois. I'm taking your class in Anaheim. Oh yeah, I could talk about Anaheim because it's been announced. So Mel's, why'd someone give me a thumbs down? You guys, what the heck? Okay, maybe that was a mistake. I'm gonna hope that was a mistake. Someone gave me a thumbs down on the computer. Okay, in Anaheim, California, I will be there at Mel's Sewing. And I've actually never been to Anaheim before. I've always just flown straight through LA. I've never actually stopped. So that's right before Quilt Market this year. Let me get that. That one has been announced. So that is September 29th through October 1st. I believe that's a Monday through Wednesday. And yeah, really excited about that one because, of course, I've never been. Okay. Joanne, is there anything else that I wonder if there's anything else? I think the other dates have yet to be announced. I will be teaching a festival. Oh, maybe a thumbs down because they can't go to class. Sorry, guys. The way it works is I go where the dealers are willing to do these big events. I have to give priority to the big events. So it takes a dealer being willing to do it. And then I try to come. So it takes a dealer willing to do a multi-room event with all different types of machines. Okay. I will be teaching a festival this year. I forget what day that goes public, but you could look on their website. I'm teaching the Q Series room as usual. Okay. So we're going to go on to the 990. Oh, actually, want to see what I'm sewing right now? Joanne, I haven't even showed you this. This is, oh, you got the sewing circle rulers in the Netherlands. That's cool. Yes, I love the new semicircle rulers. They're not that new anymore, but it takes a few months. But yeah, like I really like those. They're like some of my basics, right? They're the ones I use all the time. I'm doing a fat quarter fracture in cotton shot. I also have, oh, do you want to see, I just did, you'll see this in my H&H booth, but do you want to see twirl in cotton shot? I finished this before I left for my last trip at Hoover's, and it turned out so great. Isn't it pretty? Anyway, I love this. So this is going to be on one of the walls of my booth at H&H. Okay. Oh, you may have actually done the thumbs down. That's okay. I just thought it was weird. I don't usually get thumbs downs. Okay. So I'd probably be the first to do it in a live stream, though, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Hi, Vanita. I hope you're doing well. Um, uh, so, yeah, the twirl and cotton shot turned out really great because you can see the quilting. So it was fun. And the piping along the edge is really pretty. So, and that's what I did a live stream on the other day. So let's talk 990, you guys. Okay. The 990 is the first of the BERNINA lineup of, well, I guess it's not the first. It's the first where you can save BQM files on the machine. So we had the 790 Pro before, and that was great. And you had to work off the stick, right? You could have copy and paste. And if there's a BERNINA dealer out there who wants to add something, go ahead and please add it in the comments. But you could use BQM files. And the advantage of using BQM files is that you can scale it pretty much infinitely on a machine that can accept them. So I can take a 6-inch block and make it a 12-inch block because the machine is able to reassign the stitches along the curve. Like if you took an EXP file, which is a traditional embroidery file, and you sized it up, all the stitches become bigger. It doesn't recalculate those stitches, right? So there's a limited amount you want to scale it up because if you have an embroidery and it's made a certain density at a certain size and you just scale it up, when you scale it beyond like 20%, it's not going to look that hot, right? So a BQM can scale and reassign the stitches along the curve, which is why you want to use a BQM. Well, think about BQMs. I digitize them in Art and Stitch, and the reason I have a lot of BQMs already is because I'm always designing for the long arm. Okay, and the long arm, the Bernina long arm, the Qmatic, which is the computerized system, you can see the computer behind me. It uses BQM files. Okay, so all of my stuff has always come in BQM files as well because I need it on the long arm side of things. Okay, so when Bernina machines, not all of them, but some of them, like the 790 Pro, could take BQM files and scale them. The thing is, the Bernina software doesn't save BQM files right now. And there was no way to get it to your machine, so you basically worked off a stick, okay? And with the 990, we have the ability to get that BQM file. I don't want to say save because it's a little different than that, but get that BQM file on the machine. No, right now the Bernina software just does regular traditional EXP files, but never say never, right? Never say never. Okay, so BQM files, if you guys are shopping for my files that are BQM on OESD, you want to go to the long arm quilting site like oesd.quilting.com, right? You want to go to the long arm site to find the BQM files as opposed to the EXP files, okay? I will get back to questions in a minute. And Joanne, because I can only see the last 20 questions or so, if you could tell me if I missed any. But anyway, that's why you want to use BQM files. They're scalable. They're going to look better, right? And so a lot of people, they try to, we used to have just 7 series or something. You go to your stick, say you want to quilt, you want to get an embroidery, right? You go to your stick, you go to the embroidery, you open it, and you would save it to your machine. Okay, that's not what you want to do with BQM files. So I'm going to give you an example of what not to do, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. But in a Word, if you open a file and save it, it's going to convert to an EXP. Okay. If you open that file and then save it, it converts to an EXP. But if you copy it from your USB and paste it into a folder on the 990, then it retains that BQM property, right? It saves as a BQM file. So I'm going to show you the way not to do it, and then I'm going to show you the way to do it. And I'm also going to show you guys who have written me, because I've been inundated ever since I had that live stream with Connie. I've been inundated with questions about the 990, and it comes down to 2 questions. One is how to save the BQM files on your machine if you want to do that. And then the other question I've been getting has to do with doing jumbo stitches and bringing them into embroidery. So I'm going to show you that too. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to turn on the other camera and aim it at the screen. We're going to get this going. And I've been sewing. And I'll just show you guys what I do with my stitch number 1. I've been piecing this morning and arguing with UPS because that's a whole other story. And so because of that, I'm in sewing mode, but we're just going to flip it over in a minute. Okay, so you'll notice when I turn on my machine, my stitch number 1 is already changed to a 2.0 stitch length, right? And the tension's even, it's 4.0. And I basically have overridden this stitch with these settings because basically all I do is piece. So that's what it comes up on. I'm going to go over to embroidery. I'm not going to bother stitching out anything today. I'm just going to just show you, and you can see, actually, let me get more. I always get confused which way to move the camera. Okay, I'm going to use my mouse today, which is why you're not going to see my finger. You're just going to see the mouse. So I'm going to go over into the embroidery mode. Okay? Okay. So I get into the embroidery mode, and I have a bunch of BQM files on my USB stick. And yours might look different because you might have different files, but I'm just going to go into my USB stick, and I had all these vibrancy files I came out with a few years ago, and I'm going to open these. So these are files that aren't on the machine right now. They exist on my stick, and I could work off the stick. That would be fine. But if I open this file, let's just go to this guy. And this is a collection that's available on my website right now. So, like, say I have this file and I want to stitch it, but I decide first I'm going to save it, okay? I want to save it to my personal folder. And we're going to save it as test feather. This is what I don't want to do, okay? I have taken a native BQM file. You guys saw that it said BQM. And I'm going to save it into my personal folder. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of it here because I just want to, I'm going to say, okay, I want to go and show you what just happened. So I'm now going to navigate to that personal folder. And do you guys see that that file is now an EXP file? I do not want that. Okay, so anytime, turn this off to emphasize my point. You guys, you do not open a BQM file and then save it to your machine. No, 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 no. Because it will convert. The minute you save, it's converting to an EXP. Okay? Okay, so this is what you do, and I learned this from Connie, who taught me originally what to do. Okay, so I'm back here. Well, first of all, let me just expand this to full screen view. And I'm going to go up here to the three little dots, and because I'm going to go up here, to the check mark, the check block. So I'm going to select that guy. Then I go to the three little dots and I delete it. I don't want to use an EXP file by mistake. Okay. So now I am going to go, and you'll always have this like sew stitch one. We're just going to ignore that right now. I'm going to go back and show you how to copy and paste the BQM file so you retain that format. Okay, so because I'm in this full screen mode, and I'm going to navigate back to my USB stick, and this time I'm going to choose some other files. Let's go into my Circles and Rings collection. Now, if you guys buy Circles and Rings from OESD, whoops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. Let's go off. If you guys buy, I'm just going to get rid of this. Yeah, I don't want this, and I'm going to go here. Okay. You have to go to full screen. If you go and buy Circles and Rings from OESD, okay, I am not absolutely sure that the names will be the same. These were the ones I originally digitized, and the names might have changed. So please excuse me, this is my original folder, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I want to get, like, say I want to get 2 of these designs. I go up to that check mark blocks, and I want to be able to choose what 2 I copy. So maybe I like that guy and that guy, but I want to save it onto this machine so I don't always have to work off the USB. Okay? So I go up here to the dots and I say copy. You have to do a copy and paste to retain the BQM properties. Okay? So now I go back, okay, and I go back to that personal folder, and I go to those dots, and I say paste. And those files are BQM files. Let me see if I can focus this any better. We're going to be limited to what this camera can do. I'm going to try also to go off at an angle. If I go at an angle, is the light less confused? No, I think it's the same either way. Okay, so That's how I got the BQM files. You cannot open them and then save them. You have to copy and paste them. That has to be the way you do it. Zoom out. I can't get I can't get much further out than this because of the camera. Okay, so let me do this again, okay? I'm just going to delete, actually I'll leave them here. Let's go and get some more files to put on our machine. So I'm going to navigate back to my USB stick. And this time, I can't remember what I have in here to tell you the truth. Some of these I'm not supposed to show yet. MCM, I know what that is. Okay, remember those vibrancy files? I have all these files. Say I want all the files. I want the whole folder of these files, okay? I would navigate back and I press that check mark button and I copy the whole file folder, okay? Instead of going into the folder, I'm copying the whole file folder. You guys I can't help that you guys can't, if it's blurry, I can't get it any clearer than it is. So you guys, you go up to these three dots, right? And there's, let's see. Okay, maybe you can see this. Okay, if something is selected, then you can go and say copy, okay? If you haven't selected it yet, you can't say copy. Copy will not be active. So now I go back to my personal folder. I go to those three dots, and now I can say paste. And it copies all the files. It copies the entire folder is now in my personal folder. Let me go back. You know what? When I did an update, I turned off all the sounds because the sounds annoy me. I'm going to go back to my personal folder. Do you see how now I have that whole folder there? Because I copied and pasted the whole folder. Okay, I'm going to keep it at an angle because I think you can see it more. So here I have copied and pasted just two of the files. They're BQM. And over here, I have the whole folder, which still has BQM files. It does not have EXP files. Yeah, these files are small, you guys. BQM files are really tiny. They're just a line. And actually, it's just like the nodes. Okay? So I'm going to go back here. Let's just say I want to get something else. Let's do it again now that you can see it a little better. I know it's at an angle, but we're limited by what my camera can do. Okay, so I'm going to make this full screen again. I'm going to navigate back to that USB stick. Whoops. And I'm going to go get just another file in the circles and rings folder. So I'm going to do that little checkbox, and this time I want a ring. Okay? I want a ring because I'm going to do it around something. Maybe I want two rings. Okay? The minute I select something, actually, let me go unselect it. If I went to the dots, there's nothing, copy's not an option because nothing is selected. You have to have something selected to get the option to copy. Okay? So I've copied these. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to my personal folder. And I want to paste it in here, but maybe I would like to make a new folder for it. Because I didn't want to copy, the 36 files or something in that collection. I want to make a new folder. Okay? So I can say new folder, and then I can say circles. Oh, it capitalizes the first letter for me, and space rings. So you can actually create a folder. You can copy and paste an entire folder. But if you don't want to do that and you just want a few designs from that collection on the machine, you make your own folder, called Circles and Rings. You go into the folder and then you paste. Okay, so now I have that. The thing is, do you guys remember in the very outset that actually these were from that collection too? These two files were from that collection. I'm going to go and select these two, and I don't know, maybe it'll let me move it. Remember, you have to select what you want to do first. Oh, I could cut these. Okay. And then I go in here and I paste them. And that's how you would move the file. So if you originally sold them, saved them in the wrong place, that's how you would move those files. Okay. So again, I always want to be copying and pasting. What I don't want to do is go into embroidery and say, okay, I want a new file, and go and find a BQM file, right? So I go to my USB stick and I find a BQM file, okay? And then I save it down to the machine down there. Don't do that. When you press that button, that's what converts to EXP, okay? So you're always copy and pasting. If you want something on the machine and you want it to retain that BQM property, you copy and paste, okay? You do not do anything else. Yes, I was using a mouse to keep my fingers out of the way. Do I need to do it once more? Not using, the problem is my fingers are in the way if I don't use a mouse. How long would you keep your files saved? Okay, so let me answer questions. Gloria, how long would I keep those files saved on my 990? I am not very organized, so probably I would have folders. I mean, these aren't huge files. I'd have folders of whatever I was doing at the moment, and I would personally forget to clean them out. So I would not be a model citizen on this. But I would try to keep them organized by folders. So like Circles and Rings is a collection. Let me just go get this. I think I have some of these over here. It is a collection that I did that you can find on the long arm site for OESD. And you can see how the quarter circles you use on this panel, right? That's Drunkard's Path. Well, those rings are meant to be used on this panel, and it's continuous yardage, and it actually comes in night too. The rings and circle files are meant to experiment with placement lesson methods as you quilt around these things. Now, if I was quilting around the circle itself, I would most likely use a ruler for that, but then I would, every other circle, I'd do a ring design around, okay? So that is how long I'd keep it. I probably would forget about things, but I am compulsive about putting things in folders. Like I'll go and delete what I just put on here if they're not organized well. Okay, let's see. Just can't read the words under the three dots. I'm just saying. Did I make sense though to you guys? There are different stitch out between EXP and BQM. The magic of BQM, Irene, is that when you scale it, it reassigns the stitches, right? So it's much more scalable than an EXP file. You can go up to like 500% or something. I mean, that's the difference. It's going to take much more than a firmware update to change. It would be, let me just say, it would be a big firmware update for them to change that, because what we're doing by copy and pasting the file, we're getting around the fact the machine can't save a BQM file. So they, just like the software doesn't save a BQM file at this time. I wouldn't say they'll never do it. They may do it, but we're kind of getting around the fact that every time on this machine, when I want to save a file using that like little button at the bottom of the screen, it converts to EXP. It knows how to save an EXP file. It doesn't know how to save a BQM file. So by copying and pasting, it's just pasting the file. We're not requiring it to come up with whatever code it needs to write the file, right? Yeah. Joanne's would be super organized. Mine would be less more organized than Joanne. She's saying, like, yeah, you don't want to put hundreds of file. Well, I don't really know because these files are pretty small. I don't know what the upper limit of file storage is, but if I'm using the circles and rings, um, like that panel, and I'm doing it and I want to put all those rings on my machine. Your machine's big enough for all the rings, you guys. If you want to put all the rings on the machine, that's fine. I put whatever project I was working on, I would put the files on. When I was doing this placemat that's going to come out for the 990 next month for Bernina, I had all those. I still have those files on the machine, right? So I don't think you want thousands and thousands of files, but it's okay to have all the files you're going to use for a project. Okay. You can set. Yeah, Joanne brings up a good point. For these BQM files, the stitches per inch are set in the settings, not with the design. It's in your overall embroidery settings. Let's see. Okay. And Benita's saying the same thing. Okay. So does that make sense for BQM files? You're not going to use, I'm just going to turn on this again. So for these BQM files, when you open a BQM file, don't save it because that saves as a VXP like that. Instead, when you go open up, designs, what you want to do is go full screen and do that copy and paste function. And remember, whoops, excuse me, I almost lost my camera. Remember, if you go in and you're in circles and rings, right? And you're like, I want to copy that pattern, and you go to that pattern, it's just going to bring it into the embroidery space. You don't really want to do that. What you wanted to do is go full screen, and what you miss doing here is you have to press that button up here, the check mark, right? And you have to tell it what you're going to copy. So I want to copy that one, right? Then when you go to the three dots, you have oh, that's good right there. Then you have the option to copy. So you have to select that little check mark box at the top to go do that. And then I can go back into my personal folder where I made that circles and rings, and I can go and paste. But if you don't have something selected, you can't copy because it doesn't know what to copy. Okay? So yes, Sharon, from buying from OESD, you would save to a stick as a BQM and take the step. Okay, so you can either work off, yes. Okay, so Sharon's asking, would I save on a stick, buy BQM, save on a stick, and bring it to the machine, copy it to the machine? You have two options. Either you copy it to the machine and work off that, or you work off the stick, okay? Either way. But you do not open the file and save. You copy it and paste it. Okay? Okay. That's how you get the BQM. So now you guys, I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to keep the camera where it is. And because I was confused by this. And I want to show you bringing the jumbo stitches in to the embroidery format. This was something that confused me when I first got it, how it handles that. And the reason why it confused me is because I kept looking at my personal folder, and sometimes when I looked at my personal folder, it would show stitches, and sometimes it would show embroidery designs. And I couldn't figure out why sometimes it's showing one thing and sometimes showing the other thing. Okay? Okay. Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong on Tammy's comment. Does this work on the 790 plus? I do not no, I don't think you can use, am I getting confused? I don't know. 790 Pro, you can use BQM, but you can't copy and paste the files like you can. You got to work off the stick. I do not believe the 790 plus uses BQM, but Joanne's going to check that. Okay. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Sometimes I was confused by the personal folder when I first got it. So Okay, but Joanne, is this the plus as opposed to the pro for Tammy's question? I believe the pro does definitely use BQM files. I am not sure the plus uses BQM files. Does the plus have it? That's what I'm getting at. Okay, let's go back and talk about your personal folder, because I was kind of confused about this in terms of why I was seeing stitches sometimes and why, yeah, I don't believe the plus has BQM. Okay. I was I was confused why I sometimes saw stitches and sometimes didn't in the personal folder. And I want to show you guys. The personal folder is just one folder. Um, and it can store a bunch of different things. It can store EXP files. It can store BQM files that you copied and pasted into the personal folder. You can't open and save, right? Because it converts to EXP. And it can also save stitches. But what you can see at any given time depends on the mode you are in. And this took me a while to understand. I do not think I will be kitting Twirl and Cotton Shot on my website. I think I will leave that to dealers. There's just so much space I have and so much time I have. So I would have to order a bunch of things, and you can see I already have all my BU stuff coming in. So I probably will not do a kit, but dealers may do a kit. Okay. Okay, so let's go in and see what my personal folder looks like. Okay. So I'm going to turn it back on the screen. And yours might look different, obviously, because you have, oh, this got moved. Okay, wait a second. Hold on, give me 1 minute. It moved my, it moves this, and I want it up. Okay. Okay, so you guys can see we're in embroidery mode, right? So I have embroideries here. I'm just going to get out of this. Okay. I have a bunch of embroideries here. We're just going to ignore it. We're going to go and look at my personal folder. So if I go into my personal folder, right, you guys can see I happen to have made 4 subfolders. Okay. And then I have this embroidery right here that I did for Bernina that will be coming out publicly soon. And I have a quilt label. Now, to be honest, I probably would I'll probably eventually make a folder for that label file. But I have a quilt label and I have this red stitch, okay? The red stitch is what's ever in the current memory from the sewing side, okay? So this will make sense later. It's like whatever you last sewed, that's what the red stitch is. It's like temporary memory, sort of, okay? So that's what my folder looks like. It has all these 4 folders up here. Most of them are full of BQM files. There's one that has EXP files, okay? Now, let's go to the sewing side of the machine. So we're over in the sewing side, and I go to my folder. Okay, I see the same 4 folders. Now, if I went into these folders, because remember how circles and rings had all these BQM files? If I went into circles and rings, it's not going to show me anything, because when you are in the sewing side, it only shows you stitches, okay? It only shows you stitches. So there are a bunch of stitches here that I've made that I can't see when I'm in the embroidery side. So for instance, this one where I stitched out my name, like I use what's that called? I always forget. Combi mode. I use that to do my name. I can't see that file when I'm in embroidery most of the time, okay? Because I only see the stitches, all except for one stitch, which is the most recent stitch I used. I only see the stitches on the sewing side of things when I'm in sewing mode. Okay, there's an exception, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, whatever the last stitch I used is, so right now I've pulled up the stitch. That's the stitch I'm going to see when I go to the embroidery mode. So say I've chosen this stitch that I've saved in my favorites menu, and I go over to the embroidery mode, okay? And I go in to my personal folder. That temporary red stitch is going to be the stitch I last had up on the sewing side. So that's where I could bring this in, okay? So it says Amanda Murphy. That's how I access that stitch. So that stitch in my personal folder, you can only have one, and it's constantly changing. It's what you used last in the embroidery mode. So say I have that in, you can see I'm making a wonderful design here. Ha ha, not really, but let's say I have that. So I'm going to just get rid of this guy. These little dots are the sounds drive me crazy. Okay. So you have to click it and hold it. I don't usually have the sound on. It's really throwing me. Okay. So now I have just that last stitch. So say I wanted another stitch. Okay. You guys are either interested, you're not commenting. So you're this aha moment for me too. And Joanne did help me with this last night. I was just like, am I understanding this? Like I tried to like do it with her. We were doing FaceTime and we were going back and forth with it on how to explain it. If I want to get another stitch, remember it only shows me as an option the stitch I last had. So if I want to get another stitch, I have to go back to the sewing mode. Okay. And then I go, and I'm going to create a stitch this time. So I don't really want combi. I'm going to go into my decorative stitches, and I'm going to choose stitch. Oh, wait, I didn't want to do it in combi mode. I don't want that. Okay, I choose stitch 201. Okay, now it's showing me the stitch. And I want two of these motifs, and I want to blow them up really big to bring it into, do you see that? To bring it into the embroidery. So, I want to edit it, and I'm going to tell it to repeat twice. Now, this is something else I didn't realize until I was playing around last night. Not all stitches give you the ability to repeat, okay? Because you might have a stitch where the start and the end points aren't the same, and then repeat will be grayed out. But I'm going to say let's do two of these. And then I'm going to say let's do a jumbo stitch and make this 500 times what it is. I don't know why I'd want to do, maybe say I'm doing a border or something. Okay, now, you guys know I've seen on the internet a bunch of people are confused about this. So I have this, it's absolutely enormous. We're going to see in a minute. And it's 500 times the size. And I go over to embroidery mode and people are like, hey, it didn't bring in my stitch, right? So what you have to do is go into your personal folder. Okay. And whatever you just did is that red stitch. Okay. So there's my absolutely enormous stitch. Okay. Maybe I will change it to be the giant hoop. It's actually too big even for that. Okay. That's how big that stitch is because I can do that jumbo stitch. Okay. So now if I wanted to, I could scale it or do whatever I need to there. I probably wouldn't have made it that big. So let's say I don't want it that big. I just want one of these. Okay, so if I want just one of these, I'm going to select this and get rid of this and say yes. So now I'm going to hop back into sewing mode. Okay, so I go back into sewing mode. Okay, so I want to go back to that stitch that I had before. So that was a decorative stitch. And it's actually, whoops, sorry. I need to go to 2. It's going to bring it back to it's remembering what I did before. So I want to change it to a repeat of 1. And that's big enough for me. And maybe the jumbo stitch was a little big. Whoops. I'll bring it down like to 300 times the normal stitch length. Okay. So now I close that. Now when I jump back into embroidery, okay, and I go to my personal folder, that's the stitch I get. So in your personal folder, there's that red stitch, right? That red stitch is whatever you last did in the sewing mode. But note how different my personal folder looks here. Like in my personal folder, it shows the folders in both sides, but here it's not showing me all of those stitches. It's just showing me the last stitch used. But if I go into the sewing side and go to my personal folder, it's not showing me those embroideries. It's showing me just the stitches I've saved. So the mode you are currently in determines, I think it's always red, Joanne. At least for me, it's always been red. The mode you're in determines what you're seeing in that personal folder. The machine has the ability to hold one stitch in temporary memory for you to bring over to the embroidery side, right? So if you want multiple things, and I mean, if they were all in a row, you'd do combi mode and then you'd bring that in to your embroidery, right? But if I didn't want them, I wanted to use them in different parts of the in different parts of the design, um, then I would bring each in individually. So I'd go to the sewing side, I'd set up my stitch, the first stitch I wanted. I'd go to the embroidery mode, I'd go to my personal folder, choose the stitch. I'd go back to the sewing side. I'd choose another stitch, make any other changes I want to in that stitch. So let's add one more. I hope this is making sense for you because I thought I'd probably have had 50 emails about this stuff. So I hope it's making sense. So let me turn back on and we'll go get one more stitch and we'll do something else with it. Okay. Um, I'm glad you guys like this. I mean, you can tell your friends. I will try to keep this video up for you guys longer than I normally keep videos up. So normally on these Thankful Thursdays, I keep videos up for a few weeks. I will keep this one up for a little longer so you guys can really learn it before I take it down. And thank you for just bearing with me. It's so informal. Like sometimes we can't always see things, but 90 to 90 is so easy when you get the hang of it. It's just you gotta kind of get we have a file system now, right? Basically, it's a full computer with a file system. So I just want you guys to learn how to use it. So let's go and get another stitch. So I'm going to turn on. So you guys know right now I'm in sewing mode, right? And I can tell because in my personal folder, here are all the stitches. But let's get out of the personal folder and make another stitch. So I'm going to go to decorative stitches and I'm going to choose this stitch, 202. And let's just see what options I have with this. Okay, I could do a repeat of, no, I just want the repeat of 1 here. But I do want to make a jumbo stitch, so I'm going to bring this up pretty big, okay? So we'll do like 300%, okay? And now you guys know, because this is active in the sewing screen, this is the last thing that's active. When I jump over to embroidery and I go into my personal folder, that's the stitch it brings up, okay? So let's see what I have here. Maybe I want to, okay. I'm going to make that stitch active. And let's see, is there anything else? Maybe I want to do shape designer with it. So I'm going to do, no, I think I want to do like a semicircle. You know, this is where the 990 is really fun because you get to really play with things. Okay, kind of like that. This is I'd say you definitely want to. I'm going to match the starts and stops, and I have like this little arc going. I mean, I could play with this, and I know this looks a little chunky, but I could play with this endlessly. So now, let's see, I'm going to move this over here. That looks kind of good. And then let's take my name. Let's go over here for my name. Okay, I'm going to just do my name, and I'm going to rotate it, right? Like maybe I want to make a little quilt label with stitches. I don't, one of the things about when you're making a quilt label is you don't want it to be too heavily embroidered. Um, Actually, I'll go here. And you don't want it to be too heavily embroidered because when you quilt through it, you might see a difference in the, hear a difference because it's going through a really thick embroidery. So maybe now I want to resize this. And I could play with this forever. So maybe that's good. And I'm going to move it up here so I'll make it even smaller. Right? And now I have this little like quilt label, and I probably put the date on it too. Right? Okay. Does that make sense? So, um, yeah, imagine your job getting to play to the machines. Okay, so that's now if I wanted to go add another stitch at the bottom, right? If I want to add one of these motifs at the bottom here, what I would need to do is go back to sewing and change it to be, well, actually, no, didn't we just have one motif? So I'm actually going to go and let me see. Yeah, we had just one motif here. So now I could bring that down, and maybe I want to duplicate that and duplicate it again. Maybe this is my quilt label. And I play with alignment on all this, etc. And you guys know if I wanted to add a date down there, then I need to go back in sewing mode and create the motif, and it should be up on the screen as my active stitch, right? By using combi mode, doing a whole sequence of the date. And then I convert over to embroidery, go to my personal folder, and whatever I last sewed, which would have been the date, will be up on the screen. Okay? So I think that's it. That's my 990 lesson. So you guys are going to remember to copy and paste your BQMs if you want them on your machine instead of saving them. Right? Instead of opening and saving, that converts to EXP. You don't want to do that. You want to copy and paste. And then the other, this is so exciting. Gloria, you are in the right crowd if you think this is so exciting, because I think 99% of the world doesn't think this is exciting, but we're the ones who know, right? And then the other thing I showed you is your personal folder can look different depending on what mode you're in. And when you have a stitch up sewing, that's the stitch that is temporarily in the personal folder and the embroidery side. Okay, so what you guys can do for me is share this with your friends. Tell them to come to Thankful Thursdays, which is usually the first and third Thursdays of the month. But as I said, I don't know if I'll do a broadcast at H&H or not. It depends on the internet. But I so appreciate your support. I so appreciate that you watch. So I was trying to really help you. And for those of you who don't have 990s and you're like, I just want to get back to quilting, we will probably do that next time. I'm just not sure if I'm going to do it on the hoop frame at H&H or I'm going to wait and come back here and be on a sit down. Okay. Well, regardless, I'll be on a sit down when I come back here, but I may try to do the hoop frame if I can get the internet coming. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll keep this up for a few weeks, so make sure you watch it. And if you watch it, you can watch it on your phone or your iPad in front of your machine. And yes, okay, Heidi, I would think it would go off. So Heidi asked a really good question. Does the temporary stitch go away if you shut the machine off? You know how every time you turn on your stitch, it would go to number one again, stitch number one? I My guess is when it goes to stitch number one is what's going to be on the embroidery side too, because it's defaulting to whatever you use, or by the 990. Yes. Um, anyway, I hope this got helped you guys and answered questions. I'm going to go downstairs and argue with UPS a little more because that is what my day is looking like, and then I'm going to come back and hopefully piece this whole thing today because I need 4 days to quilt it and I have to go to Montevilla with it next week. So I can't wait to come to Portland, you guys, and then Seattle the week after with quality. It's going to be good. Okay, thank you, and I will see you next time.